Today, we will talk to somebody from the Anti-Corruption Commission as we will talk to the Director of Public Education, the Anti-Corruption Commission, Patrick Sandy. We can talk about how much in Wale government, ministry, department, and agency then begin protect and use public and donor fund them the right way. So at this time, I say good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Sandy. Good morning to the program.
A very good morning to you, Sap, to you and your colleague and the one that will listen to me this morning.
Okay, so before we look at this particular reason where you're there for, also you can talk about the power the commission get on public official and for make sure say them protect public and donor fund, take will listen and via them through on investigation, corruption investigation case the way on be they do stage and they now, especially will be soon I get what we get for do with allegation of a 300 bed Hostel projects where they honor the free quality education. You will get for do it SLRS and other one them. Most particular stage then kind corruption allegation case and deal with ACC.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. May I just reiterate to the people of this country that the Anti-Corruption Commission is very much dedicated, committed to the mandate we get, and as such we do a lot in achieving that mandate. Well, specific to the question where you ask on the investigations, that's just one aspect, of course, of the work we do. But investigations, as we usually will know them, is that once we commence, we inform the public, especially the one we get for do with public interest. But anyone we the public also want for inquire about, we do provide that information to them. But on the aspect of the SLRSA, we'll be definitely inform the public about intervention, and so that investigation is at advanced stages. Of course, we don't grant bail to the people that we arrest, that's the Scorpion Squad, and the one that also we, if you like, we downsize or reduce that total number of initial arrest to the one that will really be matter, as it were, where we investigation they focus on. So then they come at the commission and then we are following through on that investigation. But we are at advanced stages and we'll let the public know also where we are on that of the SLRSA.
Okay. On
the 300 hostel.
Bed hostel.
Bed, yes. 300 bed hostel na Kailang, Luawa Chipto. This was an information we get and the social media too. The person will whistleblow make sure that a lot of that is in social media, but as a commission, when we receive an information, we process that information and we see where it is for let we intervene. So we do a comprehensive investigation on that because the allegation or information received at that time have been that the work done stalled, and so it was suggested that the money they don't misappropriate them. Because at the end of the day, that amount of money meant for that project had already been provided for the project on. But in real effect, not to say now it's the money. And the project itself was not also stalled per se. What didn't happen now will be tried for put out clearly in the press release. That if you go, because we team of officers go na the site, that's what we usually do in the form of sing for themselves before they can put together a report. So then go realize that the aspects they will need for build the 300 bed hostel, do the water well, do the other place where at least the beginning is sit down with like a forecourt. All of those things have been built. Wusai if you like, the Tony issue been there or the hold up been there. Now wherein you talk about the SGBV issues, that's sexual gender-based violence, because this now be a place where they do for girl picking them. And that is a district by some report or incidences that, it is on the increase. So therefore, the donors, particularly World Bank, will provide the resources, being concerned, because who said that they do this facility now a bit away from the main town. So they were afraid, if you like, as to some of those things if they're not going to come in. So the issue now was for also make sure that they make the facility be open to other uses. That means other people will come there and do that. So there be now need for give the contractor the specific instruction as to what in need for do, will they not be able for come make that clear in terms of the uses of the place. So that they will make themselves hold up waiting for them, because these are some of the concerns where when don't give instructions, you know, go by and you go ahead to do it, it becomes an issue.
Okay, at the start.
So that is why they play so. But in conclusion, we make them very clear that the money, the man did not eat and the project was not stored, but that was just the issue, and everybody was concerned, so that we can get over that and get the contractor for do the place, get it handed over, because issues around retention have already been addressed.
At the start of the interview, Sabti asked the question, how many cases when they look at now? You don't make mention of two specific cases. Then one at the president look at we someone we just don't talk about just not only that case to rest. But in a nutshell, how many cases the president did on Akufa one of the cases?
Well, basically at the commission now we're even specific on those two. That was why I was trying to also address that question. But at the commission, we will get cases we investigate in the tune of 70 to 80. You know,
70 to 80.
80, I mean.
Different cases.
Different various cases across the country. But as we know, we are always challenged when it comes to personnel. So as a matter of fact, we get for prioritize which of the cases we will get for deal with based on the public interest, based on the high profile nature of the investigations.
For the benefit of listeners, and take me through some of them cases and the way to on a priority as you don't consider the factor and not get enough manpower to handle all of them at the same time.
Well, basically, it is about, for instance, if you get anything we get for the donor related case, you get for do it. And the free healthcare we mentioned is also, free quality education, not free healthcare. Free quality education is one key aspect of that we pay attention to. Then I talk about the Scorpion Squad. Then we get investigation we get for do with the Ministry of Health. We not get for go into details. Investigation they will get for do with the Ministry of Lands.
So what about cases related to government officials? Some government officials.
No, definitely the ones that they refer to, these are the individuals. I don't need for state who are involved. Investigation is something you have to talk about neatly or carefully so that you don't make exposures. So basically I'm just calling the institutions.
But when I can investigate certain individual, when I can come out to the public say, well, now the ACC get this matter on table and it investigate. So what's wrong now if you make things more clear to the public?
No, it is done on a case-by-case basis up to you. We therefore understand. As we usually do, investigations, you don't go about naming people. You don't go talking about the evidence. Because at the end of the day, you want to maintain the integrity of the investigation. Nowhere in the world you conduct investigation and go about naming suspects and even witnesses, because sometimes witnesses can be tampered with or interfered with. So as a matter of fact, what we do basically is just to let the people know what is it we are investigating by way of the allegation, the office or the institution or the ministry, and then that's where we stop until you get to the end of the investigation, whereby you need for let the public know certain things. Then you will know so if you are going to court or if you're going to do a non-conviction asset-based recovery process.
In the case of Jara Kaikai, one of the investigator for the gift them way they be allegedly say take during the time they act as chief immigration officer, and said some time back Alpha Timbo and other people for that arrest. One of them come up with names them.
No, basically what I am saying, let me understand. Investigation gets stages. That is where we get it mixed up at times. When you conduct an investigation and information don't come to you, for instance, from a whistleblower or from an informer or informant, you, the investigator, or whosoever will deal with that investigation, have to maintain the sanctity. But in those cases where you don't cite, they are completely different. In the event of Jayakaka, this was something he has stated in Parliament, and journalists were there. So as a matter of fact, they know what is it or who is involved. The same way they talk about the Alpha Timbuke on the rise. The ACC had commenced investigation, but not making clear to anybody as to who they were looking at. Okay. Until such a time when the president took that decision for set them aside, and then everybody knew about it. That is the stage at which, then, if you like, the veil now will be lifted. But otherwise, once it relates to that of an investigation process, you are not to do so. And in fact, when you make disclosures, when it is an investigation, ACC, you do so on a need-to-know basis. And there are certain things that even come to my attention as the Director of Public Education when there is the need for let I talk to the public or let the public know. Otherwise, it's not my business. I should not know. I don't even need to know, and nobody should disclose them to me. So, but when there is that time, then you make the disclosure. So that's how we should understand this.
So you don't try for inform the public on general update on waiting happen in ACC on current cases. So let's look at the main reason why they are also see on a call on public official for implement donor and public fund the right way for ensure say they noting the way right or become accountable if they get any form of misappropriation. First of all, waiting prompt ACC for come out with this on things that were related to public or donor fund. Waiting I really don't see offend or to make on come out with this on reminding people say they for go about and do the right thing.
Yeah, well, basically, the public funds, we also have a mandate over that. In fact, you will see that is what we do quite often. But this is quite specific on the donor funds. But I don't want to say so much on donor funds as if ACC will not get mandate on public funds, because waiting will come out for put out to the public now on donor funds. And as a result of the several incidences where they come to your attention, if you want to know what has occasioned or waiting don't lead me
obviously
to
we're listening
now,
one.
Yeah, that's what I am saying. Now, as a result of the so many issues so they deal with not the commission, and also it don't come to the attention of government, not only the ACC. The ACC of course don't know, but government where also they make refunds on some of those activities by way of projects. So let's give the scenario or the context.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
We have donor partners where they provide support, development partners as well. So then they give their support to ministries, departments and agencies, depending of course the area where then they focus on. You have the AFDB, you get the World Bank, you get the EU, Irish aid as the case may be. So when they provide these funds for projects within these ministries, departments and agencies, of course there are clear guidelines. I make we also mention if a manual handbook day, but the project specification day, the project guidelines, the things are there you have to follow through by the conditions of the donor. But along the line, the officials, the heads and the fiduciaries in these institutions, ministries, departments and agencies, don't they veer, don't they go away from what the donor they say for happen. And as a result, funds we therefore expend on a particular project in a particular way is not done. And at the end of the day, the donor they now ask the government for take responsibility or for payback that particular money. So those funds we call ineligible funds. They may not, may not have been misappropriated. For instance, the donor would tell you, say, go do this in this particular place. Like for the EU funds, they would say, if a vehicle you want to buy, go buy an EU country. Then you not buy an EU country. That fund is ineligible. You know, don't go by the specification, what they have said. Equally so, they may say something may, but there are times, of course, it will amount to that. But in that circumstance, where they don't say, go do this way, and you fail for DWAM, and it's in the project, and now you they implement, that fund will go to government. Now we they make it clear to those institutions and the individuals that they will be held personally responsible, or they will have to personally account for those funds, and no longer the government of Sierra Leone. So meaning, you pay the funds to the ACC, and the ACC now pay the money to the government of Sierra Leone to be paid to the donor.
Okay.
So that it does not recur as it were. And in fact, we get a scenario at hand where people that don't make refunds in the tune of about $15,000, and therefore we have
as a result of donor money they receive.
Certainly, that's what I am saying.
Okay.
Mr. Sandy, you don't lay the premise and waiting prompt this, but the first line of the press release states about how much way some of government official can fail for use the fund the right way. This same government they at loss in this particular area. Explain much if one don't get any case at hand now where they show say certain government official or institution them don't misuse any donor fund.
Yes, well, basically it's the word misuse. We got to be careful in using it.
Okay, not using the right
but,
way.
Exactly. So they're not using as was to be used, by the donor standards. Now that we need to understand. And before we close, I'll be mentioned the aspect of Salwako, where currently officials then they make payments to the ACC, and then that one will have to be paid to the government of Sierra Leone. but so that they will pay the donors back.
Because we want your institution.
No, well, that is just what I'll mention.
Okay.
Because at least for this discussion, let us just have that. But it is something, as I say, we don't they happen in the past, and it only cause government some losses. So therefore, at least we need for coming and see that we address them. Because as I will try to explain, it is an expenditure way ineligible because donors then get their standards where they set, or you don't go even sign to that. But basically, waiting they happen now, whereby you know that this is how to go, or where they tell you for go, but you do not. Certain times they then get that then the timelines or closing date for expenditures, and after that you see people going to expend money from that account even when they're not supposed to. They change signatories, they're not informed them. They do additional works or extensions, they're not they get the approval. And we know say the standard is if you want to make any twist, or change to the project or adjustments as the case may be, and then you get for go meet and they give either no objection or they give approval as it is called in their own terms. So basically, now some of them things they will tell the people then for let they abide by. You look at point 1, for instance, where they say all payments made after project closing date are ineligible. So as a matter of fact, once the project don't come to an end, and then keep telling you that is what you do. So don't go about saying, if you know say you are too tight of the closing date or the timeline, why not ask them for do an extension? And they can make a time they can give the project an extension. And we also emphasize, you don't get for take and say, probably I don't send to them, say, and they ask for extension, and you assume that the extension has been granted. Not that. You have to receive a letter, or email, whatever it is, for sure that indeed they have made the approval. Because as I say, the country, as by extension, that's the government of the government, it allows. By refunding these monies, and as such, that should stop.
Approximately, within this cost government,
within
this cost government, within this don't cost government over the past years.
No, I'm not going to give you accumulation of that.
Okay.
Sincerely speaking, because I not do that research.
Okay.
But so far, as a matter of fact, we need for no say it is not the government that should be paying these funds. The individuals responsible. Now make they come out clearly. And once we get this report, and then we go into it, we investigate and realize that you don't fall short of these standards, you are going to be held call people. And we move further to state, and you even face criminal prosecution where we deem it fit.
Is it that when they go back for money that people don't receive before now, or not just watch the the current project that more MDs they implement presently for donor funds?
No, the ones that they at hand are being implemented. That is why we have stated
check for
we are going. Yes, there's a task force we are going to set up, and definitely, of course, before the end of this week. From yesterday, the press release come out. We are now putting that together. They go into action. All those projects, pending projects we on implementation now, are going to be looked into for make sure that the individuals or the institutions they go through or follow through on the standards. And if there is anything where they at risk for get problems, then ACC will take the needed action. We ask the individual for make the refunds by engaging the donors, or where need be, we investigate for prosecution.
So in this situation of outside the ACC, they begin, paying attention to, ministry them we can get donor project. The whistleblower they come up from all that because involve government, the ministry or institution them. Also, when they get on the alert form, or how are going to say this particular project, then the fund they're not using the right way.
No, what we are doing, we know they say all their projects they are implementing. We know ministries they get.
So how are they follow for make sure say it goes the right way as initial agreement or
we work with the Ministry of Finance. We work with the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance, that's the hub for all these these projects and the funds.
So why the sudden attention of ACC? Left una put aside all other case them and begin pay attention to donor fund them way government institution they get from donor partner them.
What do you mean we left other cases then? Other cases
You just
are also
said-
being looked
You
at.
just still when I get 70 to 80
No,
cases
we are also looking at them. It is just that anything we can to our attention that we need to bring also to the fore or for let the public know about, they are going to know. We are not going to say we are not going to pay attention to those. Investigations, they go on simultaneously. But there are those you get for priority. It doesn't mean we are not going to pay attention to them. Let us not get that misunderstanding. Whatever things you get for do with that investigation, you have a whole day, you go to work, you have to look at these things as you go along. So we are going along with all of them. But of course, it's on priority. We are setting the task force. Yes, they're going to pay attention to this because it deals with donor funds. And we want to make sure that donor funds are appropriated very well.
So at this time, if they talk say issue of misappropriation of donor fund or some government official have not only use donor fund the right way, is it that you want to say the issue of corruption still hard for let be taken off among certain government official or institution them?
What we are trying to say, or what we want to let the public know, is that particularly relating to donor funds, they know they expend them as by donor regulations or standards. That is the point we have to make clearly. And in such incidences, wait.
Okay.
And in such incidences, over the period, government don't get calls for payback because the donors will come to check on the project implementation process, and they will realize that certain things not go well as they had expected, or they don't discuss and agree. So government get calls, they will say you are going to pay back this particular amount of money where you will not expend.
So
not necessarily the entirety of the money, but some aspect. If you even be say you don't go buy the entire project, you get for pay that particular amount with the donors and say they can't do the audit or the standard and say you miss out on.
So in that area,
That is where we are coming in to say that laws not get for be borne by government. Let us understand this. Let us not get things
so
confused.
Mr. Sandy, in that area,
So you now the individual,
Okay.
when we don't do investigation, if now the head of entity, for instance, approved, you now be the signatory, then you go sign, the closing they don't reach for the implementation of the project, so money then at the fund, and you still give approval for let that money they come out. You are going to pay back the money and not the government.
So
you
in
dey get the point. Let us understand.
so you don't
this.
in that area, how you call a misappropriation of fund or waiting? If government pay back money where they give certain institution or government official and not use and the right way, how you go describe
They
that?
are ineligible. They are ineligible. You go don't use them for the on a particular thing you can show evidence for, but you do not have what it takes to have expended the money.
Una also
Let me call
consider-
it eligible. I cited an example, for instance.
He said
You
Salvador.
say, they say buy vehicle na EU country if na EU money. Then you go buy in China, not to EU country. Your vehicle is bought, of course. But you did not
And
go
that
by that,
because now-
and that means, no, listen, I'm coming. No, you know, you didn't interrupt.
Sorry.
Let we educate the public. When we are here, now for let the public understand the issue. Not to for really let we just get exchanges. It is for you to go by what is stated, which you don't agree with the donors. And if you fail to, not necessarily that you don't eat the money or by misappropriation. I say there are two limbs to it. It can happen where the ACC go, you refund and you still face criminal prosecution if investigation or establish that you had deliberately
In
misappropriated.
doing this, una also
But-
consider the
but wait.
bottlenecks that most of the MDs are can face for implementing donor money also.
Bottlenecks, which sort
Some
of?
is challenges them in implementation because some project they can say, okay, this for implementing in 1 year or 2 years. Maybe sometimes other issues go come up, we go make them go over.
Listen,
But
you always have the responsibility to discuss it with the donor. The donors are not invincible. Now they don't give them money. The standards are set. Now I make with the talk say anything you want to do with it, refer to the donor. They can give no objection. They give extensions. It is happening, and it will happen. These are not people who feel say they are very stiff. So, but engage them. But when you fail to engage them, and it is their money, or their people's money, or taxpayers' money of that particular country, and they come here for development purposes, and you don't want to go by that standard, at the end of the day, you are going to be held personally responsible. That is the position we they out with.
would I anticipate any potential savings which this could bring to government after this implementation of this robust thing on the talk about?
But my brother, this is crystal clear. It is not about potential savings. This thing is clear. Once you make sure government does not pay, it means government will use those resources it had earlier been putting into those losses for other projects. So definitely yes. But we cannot come and say it is X amount of money. But imagine somebody maybe don't they expend funds ineligibly, who we're not supposed for, and the donor comes and say, okay, this is a government agency, and so we are writing the agency and then government for saying we are paying back this money, then they pay. It's a loss to government. So as a matter of fact, when we are going to hold the individuals themselves, we along the chain we know are responsible, the head or other fiduciaries, you pay the money, government does not pay anymore. Then it's of course
let me talk about the structure. Let me talk about the structure.
Savings, where at the end of the day does not put it to it. Let us put it.
Let me talk about the structure where the ACC they use in order for maintain or make sure that people do the right thing in receiving donor funds them and not make government spend at the end of the project.
No, basically, we don't see we are setting up a task force.
Yeah.
We also get people, of course, from different departments. We get to form part of the task force. And they will be there also to make sure that people in the implementation process of a particular donor project, they follow through. And if they do not, that is where you raise the flag. And if at this stage they don't miss out on certain things, we make sure that they correct them. Or where they are going to pay back, they pay back to the ACC. And the ACC makes sure the money is paid to government for onward payment to the donors.
So
the structures are going to be put in place once the task force is going to be set up. The terms of the task force are going to be clear, the terms of reference as to what to do. So if we get current projects, as it were pending projects, we ensure what is it agreed with the donors on the implementation of this project. What is the project value? What is the timeline? Waiting don't happen. Is extension coming as we don't state in the conditions? Then extension, what is the approval? So we are going to follow through on all of them and see that they are being implemented very well. We definitely as a country need donor support, but we should also go by their standards.
So you earlier state say if somebody gets a agreement or a donor support from EU, whatever you for purchase for come out from the same country, you know for left and go buy in China.
What I was saying, listen, let me make it clear.
Make my point clear, please.
Okay.
You state say if you get an agreement with EU,
that was the case
whatever you purchase, if you make sure say you do one directly with the country.
Point, yeah.
So now that's the only situation we don't rise on some government official or institution them on donor fund, or there is more?
Not at all. That was, let me say, that was a case in point they make on funds were ineligible.
Okay.
There could be a lot of other things they don't do, way not to sue the donor say for go about them. And they talk about, for instance, expenditures outside of a closing date. I cannot give you now a particular case because this is the media, the public podium we did. But I will just cite an example of when a fund can become ineligible, for instance, and not necessarily you don't misappropriate them. Now that distinction I want for create. Because when you misappropriate means you willfully don't use the money for a purpose not to be safe for use. So therefore, if you talk about EU funds, which I am aware of, if EU standards say they don't give you this fund, if you want to buy any, vehicle is a case in point, or any equipment you want to buy, generator or whatever, then say buy an EU country, then you go outside of that requirement. So that fund where you spend, in as much as you really buy generator, which could be produced from a non-EU country, but let me say in an EU country. So that fund could not be deemed to have been misappropriated because you bought it. I'm just saying, for those who are going to investigate, but it is an ineligible fund.
So some of them policy has yourself where they can attach to some of them donor money. And I don't think that one they say they make project overlap. They go more than the same way for take.
Not necessarily.
The body, ministry, department, agencies, they're not for do the implement to the term where they're supposed to implement.
No. This is a condition where they are two.
But some of them conditions people will tell you say rigid.
No. Then conditions before you kickstart the project, they have been agreed upon by the MDA and the donor. Now, only in the course of the implementation, some of these things come up. So it is not any condition you will say rigid. That's why I'm still insisting. If you find anyone difficult to implement, get back to the donors. And the doors are not closed.
Okay.
The doors are never closed. Get back to them and explain that we've been get this process for do, but it's delayed as a result of this. But we want an extension.
Okay, continue for doing the program in Patrick Sandy, Director of Public Education at the Anti-Corruption Commission. We did the program for talk about the way how they want for institute to make ministry departments and agencies then begin to take responsibility for donor money they receive for make government not continue for losses in that particular aspect. The program now good morning. When they come to inform the Society for the Democracy 98.1, we look at what already the Anti-Corruption Commission is doing in order for combat corruption in different sectors them in the country. I can't again Patrick Sandy. You don't talk on what in particularly this measure there about and what on again at the end of the day. But again, let we watch at or we'll put we save now the people and show they go for them donor money so in order for implement programs and we go benefit the country at the end of the day. When they bring up them measures there so we say somebody will go down bring for implement project donor money. One or two reasons make some time enable for them to term wanna levy some fine against them. I'm not thinking that one itself they debar people them for say this money we me they go take not from your own pocket and for the country. But if I go take this money for can implement and certain thing go wrong at the end of the day, we know to me doing. I mean the anti-corruption council for pay certain fine. Well, why instead I not go just left and about per money they come up from government who another one they self not too enough in order for implement certain programs the way days and for implement.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. But you see, sorry, we need to understand that the donors and they come with very good intentions, and we self as a country or as a people, we need donor support, and then programs here, not the thing whether they come with, actually we not achievable or we're too rigid that we cannot, comply with. So, as a matter of fact, we understand that when they come, the donor standards or conditions are very clear. You, the beneficiary institution, you definitely therefore go and sit down with them and agree on the terms. And all of those things, I quite believe, say when you don't agree to them, then now the money can be provided and then the implementation for go on. So it really they still appeal to me that you go say you're not able to meet up because the conditions are all there. What we they make clear is if for any reason there's a closing date and say they meet up to that, you engage them. If you want to do adjustment or realignment, you engage them. Anything you want to do in terms of the project outside of waiting initially when I don't agree, you get them involved. That's why along the project implementation, they can even send their representatives and come and watch as to how it is going. So it's not that of a tall order that you're not go able to engage them. In fact, you get some projects where they implement, they can get the implementation unit, project implementation unit, where also they take you through. So if anything they for implement and say this is not what we had agreed and they want it, get back to them and they let it go through. Now make with it the conditions actually now for just sanitize the process. We don't make them very clear.
Okay.
Any additional disbursements or advances, the contingent of complete retirement or justification of the money you don't previously receive. Because if they don't give you money, then you want to do anything, if you don't retire or if you don't explain how you don't expend that, and then they know. If the project don't come to an end, the closing date, accounts will be dormant. If any other thing therefore happen beyond that, has to be approved or has to be legitimate by informing them that that's what you are going, and the rightful signatories also get for the part of it.
So, Mr.
So that we go see that things go on well. Because when they come at the final stage of the project, when they come for do the evaluation, if some of these things come up and you don't get anything for explain, that is the time they will begin to say that particular money where you don't expend, where we not begin approval for do so, you are going to pay back.
So, Mr.
And this is where government has been paying and they lost money. So now the commission is saying it is the personal responsibility of all the people that we don't play a role for that kind of thing happen. Now they get for pay now, not to government anymore.
So,
and you pay to the ACC or through the ACC to the government for payment to the donors.
So, Mr. Sandy, in reinstating this on a statutory responsibility, because the press release so much emphasis on that. If a donor partner come with a complaint of a project where they way back 5-6 years for say they don't feel satisfied or feel say the fund where they may give that particular government institution, they're not using the right way. How ACC go able for track such project and for make sure say the fund was misused or used the right way?
No, basically what I believe is that if project had been implemented before, the project would not get a timeline. It would not close.
But
So in such situations, no, wait a minute. Let us just make this clarification. Projects then get then timelines, then get closing dates. If that time of the closing date, you the donor don't notice anything, I sure say you don't get onto government for let government either refund the money or something had happened. But in any case, if you still feel say you are not satisfied with the project implementation and you feel say aspects of misappropriation, anything don't happen, definitely the ACC is there for looking to that project. And if there are things that we believe say we can get and help you in the investigation process, we do. Because you get to also understand timing in investigation. Certain things and they will go don't happen way back the year down the line, you may not be able to get everything. Now make they talk about project timelines. If the project don't close, where they close, funds around that project, you don't close the account don't become dormant or probably not even existent. How can you get statements? So there are a lot of things that go into it. That's why we are saying, as a commission, we did look at pending projects. That means projects that are ongoing, where they don't probably award from 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, but they are ongoing, and then we see that you make sure you go by those standards. And if something is happening with that, so the government will pay anymore. We hold the individuals responsible.
So the issue of ACC now giving more attention to donor fund, it clear say the issue of integrity of some government officials is still a problem for make sure say they do the right thing, right?
Certainly, yes. Coming with this out does show say if government they pay back the money, it means as you put them, integrity issues are there. Because if they say do this and you don't get back to them for get approval, some of them go inform them, take and say no approval we don't get. We want the standards to be followed. Whereby if this is what you are to do, closing they don't reach, you no need for do any withdrawal from that account, even though you are signatory. Get back to them, because as a matter of fact, things have to be there as stated by the donor until you make any moves beyond that period. So there are definitely integrity issues.
How well are able to engage the ministry, department, and agency also for tell them what exactly what you don't talk so? Because before now somebody goes saying I've been they pay turn blind eyes to some of the issues there. So we now they come with all the measures there. So maybe somebody does forgo by the normal. How well are they engage them?
No, well we are doing the engagement quite often, even by way of engaging through public education with discussion programs, but specifically to this, I make we come out with a press release. We are going to make sure we sufficiently discuss the press release. We get with prevention department as well, and then we'll continue to engage the MDAs as concerned in regard this. But of course, the task force itself, therefore, get the responsibility not only for go after those projects, but also make sure that every MDA or individuals where they handle projects, donor projects, make sure they go by those standards. If you do not, no say the ACC, it has the mandate, it has the responsibility for come in and see that if you get any expenditure you don't do, we're ineligible, you're going to pay back. And where we deem fit that we need to go in for letting you face criminal prosecution, you will also do. But of course, I don't tell you now the standards as well. We relate to misappropriation, abuse of office, abuse of position, and so many of the offenses in the act.
Patrick Sandy, don't talk about this particular measure when they put in place now for ensuring able for curtail the way how don't know money and don't missing a certain ministry department and agency them. In a situation who say a particular MD fail for implement or go by what they say, so what will be the penalty?
Well, I will reiterate or I will state waiting at the penalty, because I don't state them earlier that before with the CC, when the donor don't CC expenditure they don't then be ineligible, that means you know go buy within then say the government they pay back. In this instance now, what will they say? Of course we've started, I don't cite that example. You, the individual or individuals in that ministry, department or agency or in the responsible project, now we now the personally take responsibility for pay that amount of money. That is one consequence. We now the pay back, government not the pay. Secondly, we as a commission, we also get the mandate for investigate and prosecute. So therefore, we see the nature of it, of the money you are paying back, and by the, of course, the entirety of the project where you get for payback for. We also institute an investigation, and then where we get what it takes to go to court, we definitely will charge you to court. Or now make we say you go face criminal prosecution. So these are the available consequences we will talk about in the press release. Very serious consequences.
Okay.
And so if you're gonna pay $100,000 back, or individuals that are then responsible, you're going to pay back. If you do not pay, then you have to suffer the penalty as by the act.
Continue for the with me. Inside the program, we take some message where we listen and via they don't send. And this one was I go it from a Facebook page. They say, Mr. Sandy, if already there are some government institution or individual who have misappropriated donor fund, please name them and be clear with the public.
This other I will take from a text line. They say, why focus on NGO support when we get so much money where people believe say government the laws?
Another message from our Facebook page, Mystic Nadwazak, they say corruption kills a nation, which is why fighting against corruption should be reflective on all, not selective on few. Secondly, the ACC should stop applying the taboo approach in their investigation. The rate of secrecy settlement is alarming by the Commission.
This other person I will text line the same also say, looking back at the RIT report recently reviewed by the PAC, a lot of money is missing.
This one is interesting. If you are failing to call it misappropriation or corruption, then what is it called then if an institution failed to use a donor fund for the right purpose?
This other person, they say they talk about monitoring and evaluation government institutions and make a one for acts. What's and the difference between our work and the work we Namia they do?
Another message say this clear shows that corruption is fighting back the Anti-Corruption Commission because most of these government officials should know better and apply integrity.
This other person on Facebook page, they say they come from Abubakar Kano, they say then guys here are not afraid. Oh, that one is not too clear.
Okay, because of time, we're not going to take all the messages. We'll come over to the studio guest for a respond. Mr. Sandy, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I want to tell the texters them boku thank you. At least that they should see they are following through, and not only this discussion, but the work of the ACC. So I want to tell them boku thank you. So the person they also inquire, they say the government institutions and persons. I don't make them very clear. When we do settlements, we press releases and then people are named. So there is no taboo approach, there is no selective engagement. So in this regard, I don't state clearly that people are making payments from an investigation we do relating to Salwako in a donor project.
So they are guilty?
And I think say
of whatever I refer to us?
No, but listen, this aspect of guilty, this is a technical term. Not to guilty
if
per se, because now court they say you guilty or not guilty.
So
what we are saying,
that?
no, acceptance, because this is
they
a
accept
position.
They use the money the wrong way.
No, the position with the donors, they don't state that people should refund. It's about which term you want for use. But let's understand it. Then we will know which kind word for use for describe the issue properly. I don't say in the issue of Salwako, because of ineligible funds used, the donors they ask for government for payback. In this case, for instance, Salwako now, they are not asking, government is not paying back, but the officials in Salwako. So guilty or not guilty come inside. But you say yes, there's an agreement that yes, those funds were spent ineligibly. That's what I am saying. So the aspect of guilty, not guilty, is appropriately used in the court. And these people, they don't care, they go to court. So that's why I'm very much conscious of agreeing to what you are saying if they're guilty. I don't want to say they're guilty, but that they don't agree that that funds, according to what they don't know, say they don't use them. And so they are paying back. Okay. And they don't pay, as they say, an amount in the tune of 15,000 will go pay the government, and until the complete amount is paid, then of course they will get them. So that is where we are. Then why focus on donor, on NGO support or donor support as a country we get enough money? I think we all know that for development purposes we get partners and they are supporting us. Africa as a country, we need donor support. It's not only unique with Sierra Leone. All other countries we know say they need. And so when they come with the funds, we need the funds and we apply them in the best way possible or as how they don't specify. As I say, the fight against corruption has never been selective. It is not selective. What we for do as a nation is for let we understand that the fight against corruption is a national concern. It affects all of us. So the more reason why, what I mean corruption affects all of us, the more reason why we approach for it for be non-political, it will be classless, it will be colorless. So as a matter of fact, well, let's say we are selective. What comes before the ACC, what we get as an information, what intelligence officers also get, is what we deal with. And so all this why we have not been selective, will not be selective, and the more reason why we are making gains in the fight against corruption by the indexes we become internationally. Settlement, I also say this, settlement is not done in private. I author press releases, my deputy author press releases we get for do with settlement or out of court settlement, non-conviction asset-based recovery. Individuals are named. The issue for which they are paying is also stated. And then the interest imposed is also stated. In fact, Commissioner don't impose interest now quite recently on officials of the Ministry of Immigration. 20%. The act they talk about not less than 10%. So 20% interest. Then you recluse yourself for not less than 3 years. They have reclused themselves. In other instances, people are reclused or they recluse themselves from Holy Public for 5 years. So these are very stringent measures with the commission they take. So at no point we don't do the non-conviction based recovery or settlement in secret or in private. Then if we don't call this misappropriation, what is it then? And they always make this clear. But at least now an opportunity for keep saying it. Because when you repeat, you give effect. So most likely people want me repeating. When they talk about ineligible funds, we know they talk about misappropriation. Meaning they don't tell you, say, this is how you should use the funds, and you deliberately not use them, but you have used it anyway. So how you go take that as misappropriation? Because misappropriation, they talk about willful. When you willfully, dishonestly, appropriate money. So it is not that in itself, it is just by not going what you are supposed to go by. I don't keep setting the example of, for instance, the EU, if they give funds. The same way they with the World Bank, they have their standards, and if you don't go by it. But in any case, if in your action, something happen where they lead to misappropriation, then we take steps. Now that make at the state say, you can as well face criminal prosecution. So there are two limbs to it.
Okay.
You pay back, and if there's an issue for you to address, what you are criminally responsible for, we also take you to court. So that people need to understand. So it cannot be misappropriation in an instance because you ineligibly used it. But it can, depending on when we investigate and realize that, yes, you have to face criminal prosecution. So you ineligibly use it, you pay back, and then you face prosecution. But one can go without the other. Then corruption is fighting back. Certainly, yes, we all understand it. At any point you fight corruption, corruption fights back. The more reason why we continue to let people join us, let them be allies with the ACC, so that we go able to deal with corruption, because those who benefit from it are in the minority. We are in the majority. Support the ACC, we take leadership, but we need the support of all and sundry for join we for fight this fight. And it is a fight that we must win, and it is a fight that we must fight because now an existential threat, as the president always says.
Plenty thank you. So you name that Patrick Sandy, Director of Public Education from the Anti-Corruption Commission. We be talk about a mandate where they go begin work on for make sure say government official or institution then begin use donor fund for the right way. So government don't go to pay losses back to donor partner them. Once more, plenty thank you. We be with guests inside this edition of the program Good Morning Salon.